Hey guys, what's up? This is Mel, and I'm here to talk about Shadowhunters, episode 216, titled Day of Atonement, which premiered Monday, July 17th, 2017 on Freeform, released on the 18th on Netflix, and I am recording on the 21st. I actually was able to watch the episode a few hours ago, so I'm ready to talk about it, so let's get into it. Huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first. There's my other spoiler warnings are up on screen right now. Take a moment to remind yourselves of those, and otherwise, let's start the 10-minute clock, and let's begin with what happened in this episode. First off, though, this episode was directed by Paul Wesley. I know him as Stefan Salvatore from Vampire Diaries. He's directed a few episodes from there, and I believe this is his first time directing an episode outside of the Vampire Diaries. So I have to say he did a fantastic job right off the bat. A lot of things happened in this episode. So it was really great to see him direct the episode, and then also for them to release a few featurette pieces about him directing. So it was really great. So anyways, timeline-wise, I think it's the next day. It's definitely continuing off from the chaos that came with Valentine's escape. The only reason I'm saying it's the next day because Maya greets Simon as if it's the first thing she does the next morning, and Simon's still stuck in bed. So that's why I'm saying it's the next day. So moving on to episode reminder, I'd have to say Sebastian's story was a huge thing that stuck in my head for me because we learned quite a bit about how he grew up. I'm probably going to keep switching between calling him Sebastian and calling him Jonathan. So keep that in mind. But the first moment of the episode actually is Sebastian's recalling how he escaped from Edom. As you know, that is one of the dimensions of hell. And while he's doing that, we see him take Valentine back to the cabin he grew up in. So there is that. Now, episode storyline breakdown, I guess you could say. I picked up on 4 different storylines going on at once. 3 of them are kind of intermixed together because it still deals with the missing Valentine. So I'll go with this. First one, I'm calling Jason Clary portaling to Idris. Second one is Sebastian actually holding Valentine as his hostage. And then third one is the bit of Lightwood family mystery drama that we get back at the Institute while the whole finding Clary and Jace and Valentine's going on. And then the fourth one is separately, completely from the Shadowhunter business, and that is Simon celebrating Yom Kippur, which is the Jewish Day of Atonement, with his family. So there is that. So getting down into these storylines, first one with Jason Clary portaling to Idris. We get the inclusion of Lake Lynn, which is a lake that if the water is swallowed, it gives hallucinogenic properties until you lose your mind forever. Unfortunately, Clary kind of undergoes these hallucinogenic problems. By doing so, she does hallucinate seeing a recovered ethereal. I actually don't know if it's because she actually hallucinated or if she actually did get a message from ethereal. Kind of seems like that way, but he's definitely different from when we last saw him, so there's that. We also see Jace using his special angel power, which is to activate a rune without using a stele. He uses that ability on Clary when she's in dire need of using the Aratsi rune, which is the healing rune, to cure her of these hallucinogenic issues, I guess you could say. Also, in this kind of sidetracked mission, they recover Valentine's experimental journals found at the cabin that Jace wanted to go to all along before Lake Lynn became a problem. And from these journals, they realize that, Clary especially realizes that her brother is actually alive, since one of the latest entries for her brother was dated 10 years ago, which wouldn't be possible since she's told that he died as an infant. So there's that. Second storyline is actually Sebastian holding Valentine prisoner. With that, we learn a lot about not only the father-son dynamic, but also just what Sebastian was subjected to as a child. So we found out that Valentine banished Jonathan to Edom, and Jonathan had summoned Azazel to help him escape from Edom, and in return, he returned the favor. So anyways, we found out that Jonathan's burnt appearance, his real face, is because of his torturous time in Eden. He was tortured because he apparently had too pretty of a face for their realm. So there's that. He also, while there, learned how to use his demonic powers. Apparently it's power he's never felt before, or power that no one could ever dream of having. So there's that. found out that Valentine had banished Jonathan to Eden because his own fatal experiments were drawing too much attention to them. Also, we found a little tidbit that Jonathan killed a big werewolf on his 8th birthday, shortly after he was given his first seraph blade as a birthday gift by Valentine. So there's that. And we also get confirmation that Sebastian, aka Jonathan, is the one who has the soul stored, and he actually shows it to Valentine, and Valentine actually uses it to show that he is telling the truth in stating that how proud he is of Jonathan, and how he views him as the ultimate warrior, or the greater experiment. Not the failed one like Jonathan believed Valentine to think he was, and that's why he got banished away. So there's that. Third storyline, the Lightwood family drama, comes in the fact that Robert Lightwood, Alec and Izzy's dad, comes as the Clay's envoy. And we learn that not only is Robert trying to keep Alec as the head of the Institute, but he's doing this by holding a very huge Clave secret as like a little negotiation tactic. And the secret was the fact that the Clave never had the soul sword. They never retrieved it from Valentine's attack, which we as the audience knew about, but they've been telling everybody that the soul sword was taken to the Citadel to be fixed by the Iron Sisters because of Clary's deactivation room. That was the story. So now Alec knows that that's a big lie. So there is that. Now, the fourth storyline deals with Simon celebrating Yom Kippur. Now, Maya actually invites herself as a way for to have Simon, or to give Simon her support, and to go with his family, which includes his mother, his sister, and his Bubby Helen, who is his mom's mom. She labels herself as Simon's girlfriend, and that's why she's there at this family celebration of the holiday. So there's that. But with this, we find out that Maya actually is taking online courses in marine biology, and that she had ran away from home shortly after her brother had died, thinking that her parents wouldn't miss her because they had just lost their favorite child in the form of her brother. So when not shown that same love, she kind of left as if, well, they're not going to notice her leaving type of thing. So we did learn about that. We also learned about Simon's little jellyfish phobia when he was 5, so that's a little funny too. So I'll leave it at that. But it's definitely a lot of stuff you have to take in for this episode. A lot of things, a little tidbits, a little major storyline points as well were given away in this episode. So please, please, please go watch it. I definitely can't recap everything in 10 minutes, so there's that. Last moments of the episode do show Valentine preparing dinner for him and Jonathan back at Sebastian's old place, or is it Jonathan's old place? But apparently Valentine's not in chains anymore, and it looks like they might be on the same side now, so it's a little fishy there. But moving on to characters, really it's only the return of Simon's family. We see the return of his mom Elaine, his sister Rebecca, but we do see the first time his bubby Helen, who is from Florida. So we do see her. They show great interest in liking Maya, so there's that. We also see the return of Ethereal. He's in his recovered form. He's actually a lot younger than when we first see him as Valentine's prisoner. And as well, as you know, Ethereal is the angel that Clary is connected to, and who's the one that's been giving Clary all these visions of new runes and stuff like that. Which, speaking of runes, we actually get two mentions of runes specifically. One being Clary's new portal rune that got them from the Institute to Idris, and it was a rune that didn't set off any alarms within the Institute, so that's quite impressive in itself. Jace was quite impressive, even saying the fact that it took warlocks thousands of years to try to figure out how to do portaling, and Clary just improvised a rune, so it was just like massive high-level stuff there. Also, we hear the mention of the Iratzi rune once again, which is their healing rune. It's definitely said in that regard. So there is that. Moving on to tidbits very quickly, though. But Clary and Jace actually get the confirmation in this episode that there are two Jonathan Christophers. Jonathan Christopher Herondale, which is Jace, and then we get Jonathan Christopher Morgenstern, which is Clary's brother, who, as we know, is Sebastian. So there's that. And they actually see through the journals the two different experimental comparisons, and how Jace was on one spectrum of Valentine's experiments while Clary's brother was on the other end, the darker end, I guess you could say. Also, we find out from Simon that he never told his parents that he was, or he never told his family that he was dating Clary. So there is that. Also, very quickly, we get the brief mention of Simon's father having started a tradition for Yom Kippur 13 years ago, which is sharing what they are atoning for that year. So, don't know if 13 years ago that means that was around the time where they lost his father, or if that was just when the tradition started, and then sometime later on, he was killed. I believe he was killed. I think that's why he's gone. But anyway, so there's that. Also, we get, I mentioned it before, but Robert Lightwood doing everything he can to keep Alec as the head of the Institute, not just because Alec is his son, but he truly believes that Alec is the best possible leader there could be for the Institute, just by the traits and qualities that he possesses. We also find out that Robert cheated on Maris because he fell in love with someone else. We don't know who that someone else is, though, but he tried making comparison to Alec and falling in love with Magnus, but Alec quickly argues the fact that Magnus is not an affair, which is what Robert's situation is like. So there's that. Also, speaking of Magnus, him and Luke are mentioned but not seen in the episode, and their whereabouts were explained by the fact that they're in the Seelie court for a secluded downworlder cabinet meeting with the Seelie Queen. So there's that. Moving on, though, very quickly, the most shocking moments of the episode, I have to say, was the fact that Sebastian didn't send Valentine to eat him, which is what he had set him up to do. And I think the whole truth being told through the Soul Sword is kind of what changed Sebastian's agenda when it came to Valentine. So there's that. Moving on to top 3 favorite moments, though. My favorite moment would have to be the moment where Jace was able to heal Clary. He was able to have his own power flow through him and then flow through Clary so that he could activate her Iratzi Ruin so that he can heal her. I really liked that. It was a really great moment. It was a great song choice, too, for the matter. It really got you into the mood of how intense the situation was. She was hallucinating. She didn't see that it was Jace that was trying to help her. She thought it was somebody else. She was fighting for her life. He was just trying to be calm and trying to get her to calm down and try to heal her. I really like that scene, but it's definitely the fact that we got to see Jace's power the way it did and how it manifested. I really liked that display of it. So there's that. Another favorite I liked was Simon and Maya. I don't know if I keep calling her Mia or Maya. It's Maya, though. And just the fact that she went with him to celebrate Yom Kippur, and then how she was able to have his back and everything. And then just the little tidbits that we got to learn about her and then his reactions to them. And then just at the very end, when he realizes, like, wow, I really don't know that much about you, and I should, and apologize. It was just a really great progress being made between the two of them. I still think it's very early for Simon to move on from Clary, but I'm definitely liking these new steps that he's kind of taken with Maya. So there's that. Another favorite of mine also has to be the scenes between father and son, between Sebastian and Valentine. What I liked about it is just the pure intensity of that type of dynamic, the father-son dynamic, and how we're truly seeing, not only seeing, but also hearing about what their dynamic was like, what Sebastian had grown up in the situation he was in, and then how Valentine had to react to that, or why he had sent him away and stuff like that. It was very interesting, especially since if we're to believe that Sebastian's been locked away for 10 years, that this was when he was a little kid. So it's like, it was a lot was told about these two, or especially about the background behind Jonathan. So I just really liked that. It was definitely very emotional, and it was also, it's amazing how much of a shift there is from the Sebastian we was first introduced to and everyone at the Institute knows about, and then to see this version of Sebastian, which is actually Jonathan. So it's very well done. I'll leave it at that, though. Moving on to top 3 peed moments, I didn't have an issue with this episode. I liked every part of it, so I'm just going to leave it at that. So I'm pretty happy about that. But moving on to what moment will I remember most when I look back on this episode, it definitely has to be a few of the little tidbits we learn about Sebastian or learn about Jonathan, how he grew up, where he's been, what he has to deal with, just kind of his perspective, like how he's brought up and everything like that. So that was pretty interesting. It's definitely going to stick into my head for that. Moving on to random questions, I only have a few. First one was, did Jonathan just recently return from Edom, or has he been back for a while? The only reason why I asked that is because Jonathan had to kidnap Sebastian Verlac and kind of impersonate him and take over his life. That had to take some planning. That had to take some time, understandably so. So I'm wondering if Jonathan's first act out of Edom was actually him retrieving the soul sword back in episode 210. So I'm wondering if that was like kind of his first move after being topside, or if he's been back for a while, he's been taking on the form of Sebastian, and then he waited until he was able to get the sword. So I'm wondering just how long he's actually been out of Edom for. And then again, second question being, is Jonathan always going to be burnt from his time in Edom? Is his true face always going to be that charred flesh, or is it going to heal in some way? Are we going to see what he's actually supposed to look like, or will he always be staying in the Sebastian facade? And I think Valentine even brought that question up too. So there's that. And last question. Clary found the last entry for Jonathan to be dated 10 years ago. Does that mean that Jonathan was actually locked away in Edom for a decade? Which is a lot, because that means that he would have had to have been locked away, when he was 8, 9, maybe 10, 11, 12. It's hard to say. He's definitely older than Clary, and Clary's 18. But is he supposed to be the same age as Jace? Because if that's the case, Jace is like 22, 23. So it's like, he was like not even a preteen when he got sent to Edom. So how long was he at? What age did he actually start his time in Edom, and like in his torturous stage and everything? It's quite daunting to think about, actually. But let's move on to predictions very quickly. Based off the promo for 217, I picked up that mentions of Alec lying to Magnus, Clary talking to Jace about Jonathan being alive, Sebastian overhearing Jace telling Clary that he'll kill Jonathan, which kind of throws him. And then we see Sebastian believing that Clary loves him since they are family, and he shouts this at Valentine. And then we actually see Clary wanting to save Jonathan and actually seeing him for the first time in a confrontation. So there's that. Now, based off the synopsis for 217, it looks like with the 2 of the 3 mortal instruments missing, everyone is on the hunt for the last one, the mortal mirror. Jace and Clary are on the hunt to recover it first before it will fall into enemy hands. But along the way, Clary realizes that her brother Jonathan may be closer than she thought. Meanwhile, Isabella has a hard time accepting the fact that her little brother Max is growing up, and Maya struggles to bring her guard down with Simon. Quite a few things are said in the synopsis, but based on the previews that they've released for 217, there's 3 of them. The first one is Valentine forcing Cleophias, which is an Iron Sister, aka Luke's sister. He's forcing her to fix the soul sword. She's actually injected with a mind control serum. We also see Valentine wanting to raise Raziel in hopes of wiping out the Downworlder community once again if the soul sword can't be fixed. And we also see Sebastian, or Jonathan, getting protective over Clary's inclusion when Cleophias mentions her. Second sneak peek clip shows Magnus checking on Alec, who actually missed dinner by hours, and because of this, Magnus uses magic to bring them dinner. And then we see Magnus reporting to Alec about the Downworlder cabinet that happened in the Sealy Core, and Alec seeming a little reluctant on sharing certain things. So there's that. And the third clip actually shows Simon having booked a paddle boat for him and Maya, since she's studying marine biology and he wanted to take her out on it. She finds that sweet, but Maya actually rejects him despite not having a date given to her. So there's something right there, though. But aside from that, though, I'm just excited to see what happens next. There's only 4 more episodes left, I believe. Yeah, 4 more episodes left since it ends at episode 20. So it'll be exciting to see where this season ends off. But what did you guys think of the episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and predictions about what you think is going to happen next. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, check my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place, so go check that out. I'm a little behind, but I will catch up, but at least it's all found in a convenient spot for you. Also check out my WordPress account. The link for that is down below. It's a little more organized, but it's connected to Tumblr as well, so go check that out. So there's that. Also, guys, since it is the 21st that I am recording this on, Shadowhunters was actually released a trailer at the San Diego Comic-Con on the 20th. So it's out there on YouTube, so go check that out. It definitely reveals a few more spoilers for the remaining 4 episodes of the season. I saw it, and it's intense. So go check that out as well. But otherwise, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you come back next week to hear what I have to say about the next episode. But until then, guys, this is Mel wishing you all a great day, great week, wherever you are. Bye for now.